What's going on, Star Wars fans? Welcome to Star Wars Doctrine. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. Or if this is your first week, thanks for checking us out. Basically, just here to discuss everything about our favorite galaxy far, far away. I am a new channel, so if you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. That way you can see lots of future Star Wars content and see more videos in the future. Thank you guys so much for your support thus far. Really enjoying this and hope you guys are too. Be sure also, if you haven't already, to check out Instagram and Facebook at Star Wars Doctrine. That's where a lot of the discussions happen and a lot of your comments and stuff that we take and put into the podcast. So thank you guys for all the discussions and ideas so far, and hope to see more of you on there as well. So got a fun lineup this week, about 6-7 different topics here that I want to talk about, and really excited to dive into it. So got some good Star Wars news, got some just discussion questions and some good stuff. So let's get right to it. One thing, and I will be honest, I meant to post on Instagram and Facebook about this, but never got around to it. But I still think it's worth mentioning. Let's see. About 2 weeks ago, we had a lot of stuff going around about Rian Johnson, and if many of you guys remember, quite a while back, it was announced that he was going to be getting his own trilogy. This was before Last Jedi even came out, that he was going to have his own trilogy to work with, and there's been some news that's been going all around saying that, okay, Rian Johnson lost his trilogy, and either he stepped down or Disney decided they didn't want him and everything like that. And so this was just flying around like wildfire, as you would expect, because of all the backlash and the divide that The Last Jedi has. So this, like I said, spread like wildfire, so much that Rian Johnson actually came out and made a statement saying, just so you guys know, this BS rumor is BS, was actually, I think, his wording. So he said he's actually still working on his trilogy right now. And I thought that was interesting because I'm not one to believe everything as it's getting passed around. Like to check my sources, make sure, the people reporting it. Although I do enjoy speculation, and you'll notice that on this page a lot. If I hear a rumor or anything, I like to talk about it. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm stating it as news, because unless it comes from a reliable source, then I wouldn't necessarily take it without, speculation. But love the rumors and discussions that they can create. But taking it as news, you got to be careful, especially with things like this. But I will say that I was leaning towards thinking that this report could have been true, just because of all the backlash and everything that Rian Johnson's had. But yeah, so either to your delight or to your sadness, Rian Johnson is still working on his trilogy. What it will be about, don't know. And I will say this. We've got a lot of Star Wars projects that are going to happen before his trilogy. Because I think from what it sounds like, the next trilogy is going to be Benioff and Wise's trilogy, the creators of Game of Thrones. So I don't think that they would have Rian Johnson filming his trilogy at the same time. I highly doubt it. So between that and then a lot of the TV projects that they have going on, I have a feeling that Rian Johnson's trilogy is pretty far out, if it's even going to happen at all. And I'll be honest, if I was a betting man, even though he still said that it's going to happen, I would still put my chips on that it won't happen. It could go either way. Like I said, I'm just speculating, but from what it feels like between the fans and Disney, and I just don't think that I don't think it's worth the risk, whether you like Rian Johnson or hate him. I have a love-hate relationship for him, if I'm being honest with you guys. I liked a lot of things in Last Jedi. I hated a lot of things. So to me, it goes either way. And also, I'll be honest that I do think that if he had his own trilogy and he didn't have characters that we already loved, like Luke and Leia and if he had his own set of new characters, I think he actually might do a good job at telling a story and making his own trilogy. Seriously. It's probably an unpopular opinion, but I think he would do all right. I don't think it would be as bad as a lot of people would think. Granted, with that being said, I don't necessarily want him touching anything else involving characters I do love, but I don't think he would be a bad choice of a director for his own trilogy with new characters, because I think what really bothered a lot of people was what he did with the characters we loved. And we wouldn't have that attachment with him doing things to his own characters that are new, that we don't have as much, as much tied to. So anyways, that being said, if I put my bets down, I really don't think his trilogy will happen. I think it's put on the back burner right now. Just my guess. Guess only time will tell. I just don't see Disney taking the risk, especially with the way they've reacted to the Solo box office bombing, basically. And anyways, we'll see. Interesting piece of Star Wars news, so I figured I'd share it. Be curious to see what your guys' thoughts are, if you think he would do all right in a trilogy, if you think it'll happen, if you think it won't, or if you just want him far away from Star Wars. I understand all opinions. I can see both sides, so yeah, feel free to leave a comment. I'd be interested to see what you guys think, especially since I didn't get around to posting on that. But on to our next topic. Posted earlier about rumors. Once again, the speculation, like I said, something that I wouldn't say, it's a for sure thing at all. Not even close, just rumors. But I do like talking about rumors because, hey, it's fun. And especially in a time right now where there's not a whole lot of new Star Wars content, it's really fun to just speculate about what we'd like to see. But it was a rumor that there would be references and or appearances involving Star Wars Rebels in Episode 9. And yeah, this is something that shocked me to hear this rumor. But as I've thought about it, I really like the idea. And a lot of you guys had different various comments and opinions on that, and I'll get into some of those. But first, I was going to say, I think this is really cool. Personally, I think that tying the cartoons in with the movies is a really awesome idea. One thing that surprised me so much was in Solo, spoilers if you haven't seen it for some reason, Maul at the end making an appearance. I mean, that was huge. That was just something that I could not believe that they tied into the movies because, well, for those of people who hadn't seen Clone Wars, it was probably really confusing. In fact, I had a couple of friends who asked me, because they know that I'm a big old Star Wars nerd, said, hey, why was Maul in there? Or was that Maul, or what's going on? What was that all about? I thought this took place after Episode 1 and The Phantom Menace. So, but yeah, so I think that was a big thing. But as far as from what I've heard, I haven't heard backlash from it. I mean, the people who didn't get it got it explained to them. And I mean, who knows? Maybe it even breeded interest to the people who haven't seen the Clone Wars, going, hey, that's weird, that's cool. Maul was a good character, he's in it, wow. Man, maybe I got to see what that's all about. So maybe it paid off in making other people want to watch it. But it was a very surprising move, if you ask me, to tie that in. And I thought it paid off. I think with the fans that are aware of Maul being alive, I think it was a really cool experience. For me, like, that feeling when I saw those metal legs, I knew it was him before I even saw the rest of his body, because I was like, oh my gosh, no way, they did not just do that. So, I mean, I thought it paid off for me as a viewer for sure, and I'm sure with a lot of other Star Wars fans. Granted, there's probably others out there who didn't like it, but I thought overall the reaction I got was just really good from people I talked to. So I could see there being something similar if we got a Rebels appearance reference in Episode 9. I could see it paying off well. There's probably a way they could do it to where people who hadn't seen Rebels, people who haven't seen Rebels would still be able to catch everything that's important in the movie. Like, it wouldn't be a make it or break it thing. Like at Solo, seeing Maul in it was just awesome. But at the end, if you didn't know who that was, it didn't really ruin the entire plot of the movie. You weren't lost or confused. It didn't matter. it was still a cool scene. So I think you could do something like that with Rebels. Because you wouldn't want to make it so that, if you haven't seen Rebels, then you'll have no idea what's going on in this film, obviously, because that's going to leave out, more than half the audience, especially the people who are just casual fans or maybe just there because there's nothing else at the movies. Disney's trying to make money, so they don't want to leave people going, what the heck was that? And with no desire to go see Rebels, or to go watch Rebels. But if you can do it in a way that basically makes them go, wow, that was a really cool reference. That character was cool. I wonder what he's all about. And they can then go maybe explore into Rebels. Hey, that's a win-win for everyone. I mean, they're putting money into these cartoons, so I think that they're really well done. I mean, if you want to talk to me about who I think should get his own trilogy, Dave Filoni's at the top of the list. He's the one who did Rebels and also going to be involved in The Mandalorian coming up, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But he just did an incredible job with Rebels. He's a great storyteller, develops characters well. I love him. I know most of the Star Wars fan base does as well. So take away Rian Johnson's trilogy and hand it over to Filoni, I'll be a happy man. But yeah, for sure. Moving on to that, to some of your guys' comments, there's like a couple I wanted to talk about. Lindell said on, I think, Reddit, said, I personally would love it. Never made sense why Disney would invest so much into a show and developing these characters as the movies were starting, just to never use them as a gateway for kids to get into their main product. So, yeah, for sure. I feel that. I mean, want to focus on that first part, Disney investing so much into the show, because I think that's true. That's one of the things that they've done well. And I think that that's one of the things fans, like, even if a lot of people who even hated Last Jedi or didn't like Force Awakens, or a lot of people still enjoyed Rebels, it gave you that feel of the original Star Wars, because it's the Rebels and the Empire. So for me, that was one thing that really got me back into Star Wars with the new canon, honestly, was Rebels. I think that, yeah, putting all this time and effort into these characters is awesome. But I think to make it feel like it's all part of the same universe, like, Rebels did a good job with bringing in little things like, I think there's a holocron you see Obi-Wan in, and obviously different scenarios where Master Yoda's there and like a vision and things like that. So obviously they brought their movies into the show. But I personally would like to see it go the opposite way too, because you gotta feel like the universe is all together, and it would just be really cool. Like, okay, Kanan survived Order 66, and so did Ahsoka and all these people, but somehow they just never do anything important enough to make it into movies, like, and they're all alive during the same time period. I find that hard to believe. So I'm not saying they got to be the main character, they got to play a huge part, but I definitely think that, yeah, investing time into these characters and to the story, you got to tie it in. Absolutely, for sure. So, let's see. Mike Metzler Jr. on Facebook really liked this comment. He said, maybe they are the allies that Leia sent for. And that's something that hadn't even crossed my mind, and that gets me excited, actually. I read that, and I was like, oh, heck yeah. Like, what a cool tie-in. In end of episode 7, we know Leia sent some, names are escaping me, but he sent some of the Resistance to go find some allies for them. And that's why a couple of these characters, they weren't like main headline characters, but a couple of them were in episode 8, The Last Jedi, because they were off trying to find these allies for Leia. And with how little's left of the Resistance at the end of episode 8, I think that, they got to find allies somehow, because they're not standing up to the First Order if there's only enough of them that can all fit on the Millennium Falcon. Not very many of them left. So if they're going to be the spark that, sends hope throughout the galaxy, then they're going to have to get some allies, and they're going to have to inspire some people. So perhaps these guys find Ezra or Ahsoka whoever and bring them back Sabine. I mean, there's a couple of them that are alive, so that would be really cool. Maybe Leia knew them. We know that from Rebels, so maybe she knew that they were still alive or where they were or had been in contact with them. But that'd be really cool. For me, I just want something physical, I guess, in the movies. I think so if you don't know already, there's actually quite a few references to Rebels in Rogue One, which was super well done, super cool. They go over your head if you didn't know to look for them, because the first time I saw them, I didn't even notice. Obviously Saw Gerrera, everyone probably noticed that one, but Chopper is actually, the droid Chopper is actually at the base on Yavin and in the background, and you actually see him go across in the background, which is really cool. But you never would know to look for that, so it was a nice little hidden Easter egg. Also, the battle over Scarif, the ghost is actually in that battle, and you can see it. So kind of cool, something to look for next time you're watching. So there's definitely some references in there that I guess pull it together, but they're really Easter eggy. There's something that you have to look for. And I guess for me, if they're going to do something in episode 9, I want it to be a little more tangible, a little more up in front of your face, kind of like Maul was. Like I said, not saying it needs to change the story or you have to have watched Rebels to understand the story, but I need at the very least, I want, I don't know, Rey finds Ahsoka's lightsabers, or she comes across a holocron of Ezra and Ahsoka, or Ezra and Kanan doing some training, or that's the very least for me. Or maybe a mention, I think someone commented on Instagram saying it'd be cool if someone said something about I served with Hera in the Captain Syndulla, Hera Syndulla in the war, or something that would be really cool. I think that there's a lot of you guys who said that that's the max of what you'd like, is just a mention or something like that, which would be cool. Personally, I want more than that, and that's my bias showing because I just loved Rebels. I think it was one of the best things that's happened to Star Wars in a long time. So I think, the chances of us getting some Rebels in there, I think it's good. Maybe that's wishful thinking, but a lot of you guys did say, I don't think JJ cares about the shows, and you guys might be right. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's wanting to tell his own story, isn't really worried about, referencing things like that. But if he is, then I would say the reason would be, I really do think that Disney's on edge right now. Lucasfilms knows, Disney's a company that likes to make money, and they are really good at that. And they're probably frustrated when they don't. So with Solo bombing, it's been something that they even talked, Bob Iger said that they reevaluated their whole plan just because of Solo's box office stuff. So, it's something that they take seriously, and they are learning very quickly that the fans of Star Wars are probably, they're unlike any other fans out there. We're unique. We love our lore, and we know what we want. And obviously, when we don't get what we want, we're not happy. That's what we've shown, I guess. So I think that they're on edge. Maybe it doesn't seem like it, but I think they're going to pay extra close attention. I think they're looking at this movie, I've said it before, as a chance to win the Star Wars fans back. They're not wanting to take any risks because they hurt from Solo. They want to make money, so the whole buying Star Wars thing was all about them being able to make money. So I think that they're going to pay attention to the lore that Star Wars fans like, because this is their rebound movie. And I think JJ, Kathleen Kennedy, everyone involved is on edge. I really do. And Star Wars Rebels is one thing that I think most Star Wars fans unanimously agree was pretty good, especially if you've watched them all. And even people who haven't seem to be okay with it. I think that's one of the things that Star Wars fans can agree on right now. maybe there's not too many of those things. So bringing in something like that could really make the fans happy. It could do wonders for the film. That's just my opinion. Let's see. Going on to one more comment from JC Karamasalidis. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but she said on Facebook, at the end of Rebels, we see Ahsoka and Sabine board a ship in search of the missing Ezra. So all three would be great. They're obviously going to be a little bit older at this time, but yeah, absolutely, they're alive, and there's definitely options here. Filoni kept them alive for a reason. I don't know if it was all part of the plan for the movies, or if it was for future TV shows, or if he just did it because he didn't want to kill off all the characters we love, but definitely left the show at an interesting spot. So there's definitely potential. And let's not forget, I know a couple of you guys commented as well, Thrawn, for sure. Thrawn's one of the most loved characters. He was in Legends, and then when they made him canon, I know that was something that most people were really happy with. So him possibly being still alive, yeah, I definitely would love to see something like that. The only tricky thing, I think, is that with the way Rebels ended, if you're going to bring in Ezra, you're going to bring in Thrawn or any of these guys, then we're all going to be like wanting an answer of what happened between there. Like, okay, well, if Thrawn and Ezra were on that ship together and they sped off, and what happened, where did they go, how did they both live, what's going on? So that would be the only tricky thing, I think, for using those characters. But there's obviously ways around it, and maybe they would explore the fillers in later. So yeah, definitely something I would be excited about. Rebels is the bomb. So yeah, let's get it. Hope JJ's listening. All right. New villain in episode 9. This is a big rumor going around right now, and supposedly, I'll admit I'm pretty much buying into this one, because a lot of sources, a lot of people talking about it. Supposedly there's even a code name, which they always give all of these characters when they're casting them. There's a code name the Collector, which is interesting. No actor named for this character, whether it's a man or a woman. There is some leaks about, supposedly the villain has a name. I'm not really reading into that too much, because it's hard to believe these names. I mean, especially with how much coding they use, because they don't want things to get out. For example, you got codename Mara is Kerry Russell's character, and the chances of her actually being named Mara Jade is pretty slim. They're calling her Mara and MJ. Unfortunately, I really don't think that will be the case, although I hope it will be. But like I said, it's so hard to tell with these names. They always have fake names and aliases going into the films, so I'm not even worrying about that. Just want to talk about the concept of this character. So one thing that's kind of reporting is that he might have an interesting role where we don't really know who he's an enemy of. Supposedly he had a Crimson Blade, and that's really about all we know. Hooded figure, Crimson Blade, nickname the Collector, or alias the Collector. So what that's all about, I don't know. He might fight Rey, he might fight Kylo, he might not fight anyone. He could just be someone they encounter, but definitely an interesting concept. I think that having a third-party villain in this is a good idea, although I have a hard time with just throwaway characters. Like, I think that's one reason Snoke dying so quickly upset a lot of people. Although personally, I have a love-hate relationship with that scene, because I really love the way it built Kylo Ren's character. But it was kind of like, whoa, really? He's gone? So anyways, I still think we're going to learn more about him in episode 9. Plus, we got a Snoke comic coming up. So although that's off topic, very interesting as well. I just hope that this villain isn't some throwaway character, is what I'm getting at. I am excited about the opportunity to see what they do with him, and supposedly he's from the unknown regions. That was the other supposed thing, okay? And the unknown regions are super interesting because we know Emperor Palpatine had a huge obsession with the unknown regions. He said that he felt lots of dark side out there, and I think Sam, Steve's, and me were talking, and Mike Simonet on our Facebook group that I guess in the Thrawn novels, Vader and Thrawn actually go out to the unknown regions and discover some of this dark side and where that's coming from. But supposedly the unknown regions, a lot of places aren't explored in them. We know that's where the First Order was kind of formed. Snoke formed them out in the unknown regions because the ashes of the Empire kind of rebuilt out there just because it was out of, kind of hidden from everyone. So lots of potential for the unknown regions in general. I think we're going to explore them a lot in this movie because that's where, Ahch-To is in the unknown regions. So we have lots of Jedi lore supposedly out there. Probably a lot of Sith lore as well. I'm sure if the dark side's a strong presence out there, we're going to get Kylo and Rey out there exploring that stuff. So maybe that's how they come across this person. I don't know, but whether he's a Sith would be something interesting. I think that personally, I hope that he's not a Sith. I do think they all died with Vader and Palpatine being the last two. But we'll see how this goes. I would be interested to see who this character is and how he fits into the plot. A lot of you guys said, it's cool to have, someone else playing an antagonist. A lot of you guys said, just another dumb character. So I think we're both feeling all the emotions and mixed feelings on it. I'm right there with you guys. But yeah, we'll definitely see what they decide to do with that. And hopefully you'll have an interesting backstory. So, another thing we talked about this week was the Count Dooku comic, which if you haven't kept up on a lot of these comics, I try to post them a lot, especially been a lot of the Vader comics that I've talked a lot about and on the page, but I love these comics. Marvel's done a really good job with them, and this one was just like a awesome comic. First Dooku comic we got, and it tells us a lot of cool things, even though it's short. So if you didn't get a chance to check it out on the Instagram and Facebook page, go check it out. I posted a couple of the snapshots from the comic and gave a little summary, but yeah, it's really cool. Dooku is on a mission, and he's already left the Jedi Order at this point. It's past Phantom Menace, and he runs into this Jedi who recognizes him, and let's see, this Jedi is a new Jedi. He looks like a tiger. Star Wars Theory actually compared him to Tony the Tiger and said, we got Tony the Tiger as a Jedi. Pretty funny. Kind of weird that there's like a tiger-looking dude in Star Wars, I'm not going to lie. But, all right. His name is Jack Zinn, or Jacques Zinn. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but anyways, he recognizes Dooku. He's like, whoa, you remember the Council? I super looked up to you, and you're awesome, and, why'd you leave the Order, everything. They talk about Qui-Gon and how he died, so this is just after the Phantom Menace, which kind of confirms for us timeline that Dooku did leave the Order before Qui-Gon was killed, because he actually says, in a really cool moment, he says, when I heard the news of his death, I couldn't help but wonder, had I remained with the Order, would he have still died? And that's a super cool concept to see. We obviously know how much Dooku cared about Qui-Gon, but to see him really kind of thinking about that and wondering is just super cool. Dooku and Qui-Gon did have similar ideas and ideology, but obviously Dooku was a lot more extreme and let it carry him to the wrong places. But yeah, it's a good point, because there's a chance that Qui-Gon and Dooku would have been on this mission to Naboo instead of Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. It's possible. I guess Qui-Gon's still training Obi-Wan, but you never know. There's a chance that, and I think Dooku and Qui-Gon beat Darth Maul for sure, and I don't think Qui-Gon dies. So if that was the case, but you never know. It could have still turned out the same way. But it's interesting to know that Dooku's thinking about that too, because I would love to learn more about Dooku and Qui-Gon's relationship while Qui-Gon was being trained as a Padawan, because love Qui-Gon, love Dooku, both two of the coolest characters in all of Star Wars, in my opinion. But anyways, they're talking, and turns out they're actually there for the same reason, just different intentions. It looks like it's like some sort of arms dealer that they're Dooku's there to try and take it over and get all the weapons, and obviously the Jedi's there for peacekeeping reasons to try and stop it. So, but he doesn't know that Dooku's, no one knows Dooku's a Sith at this point, and so they get ambushed by this arms dealer, and both of them start fighting and pull out their lightsabers, and Dooku just forces all their guns out of their hands and kills like half of them, and just demonstrates his awesome power, which is sweet. And only after they're all like dead does Jack Zinn turn around and realize Dooku's holding a red lightsaber, and he's like, "Where did you get that?" And Dooku, without hesitation, he just says, "Well, I made it, of course." And Jack doesn't realize that Dooku's still forcing this gun in the air, and he pulls the trigger with the Force, and it shoots through the Jedi and kills him. So, really cool. Showed how dark Dooku was, and I think that this was the first, in canon, it's the first Jedi we know of that Dooku kills after leaving the Order. He might have killed more before this, we don't know, but obviously he was pretty dark already at this point, not afraid to kill Jedi, and pretty interesting. Obviously, the word doesn't ever get out to the council that Dooku's the one who killed this guy. Perhaps I thought about that's maybe why he killed him with a blaster instead of his lightsaber, because he didn't want people going, "Oh, wait, someone killed him with a lightsaber, that's fishy." Now they're just going to assume that the arms dealers killed him and have no idea that Dooku was part of it, because even in episode 2, they don't know Dooku's a Sith yet, so obviously he kept his true identity hidden for a while after this. So anyways, pretty cool little comic. Love these. They just bring some awesome stuff to canon, like so. And that's about it for the Dooku comic. But as more of those come out, I'll keep you guys updated, because I really enjoy those. Later on this week, earlier this week, I'm not telling the future, earlier this week, episode 9 wrapped, and so did Mandalorian, which is pretty cool. That they wrapped like almost on the same day, maybe, at least within a day of each other. But J.J. Abrams shared this message, which is pretty cool. He says, "It feels impossible, but today wrapped photography on episode 9. There is no adequate way to thank this truly magical crew and cast. I'm forever indebted to you all." Shared a really touching picture shown here, and look at that. The look on Oscar Isaac's face right there is just awesome to me, because it just shows this emotion. I think these guys have been working on these films, probably getting pretty close to each other, becoming good friends, and to be wrapping it up, who knows if any of them will be in Star Wars movies together again. So very cool to see that picture, very emotional. And then, already people have been dissecting the heck out of this picture, so I want to talk about that a little bit. Very interesting, because looks like Rey's holding that staff again. Oscar Isaac's hair looks quite a bit longer. Rey's hair is also back into like the old Force Awakens style, and even her outfit looks maybe a little more Force Awakens-ish. And then whatever's going on with Poe's hair. So interesting, yeah. And they're on a deserty looking planet, so that could mean a lot of things. And we talked about planets the other week on what you guys think, if it's going to be Tatooine making an appearance, if they're back on Jakku. Why does everybody want to go back to Jakku? But so it's interesting. I'll give my guess. I think they're on Jakku in this, and I don't know, I'd have to do a side-by-side comparison to see, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's some flashbacks. Maybe that's why Rey looks more Force Awakens-ish, but maybe they just go back to Jakku and that's what this is. But her carrying her staff's interesting as well, I think, because I don't think we ever saw her carrying that in The Last Jedi, because she was, well, no, that's not true at all. She carried it a little bit, but you would think she'd be gravitating now more towards carrying just a lightsaber, unless that is a double-bladed lightsaber she's holding, but doubt it, but possible. Anyways, yeah, I think it's Jakku. I don't think we're going to get Tatooine, but I would love it if we did. I think we should, but I don't know if we will. So yeah, pretty cool stuff here. Mandalorian wrapping as well, super cool, guys. I know I've expressed this a million times, but I am so pumped for this show. Holy cow, Disney Plus can have all my money, because this is going to be awesome, and Jon Favreau's involved, so give me any more reason to watch it. I'm gonna have all my hopes up for this and hopefully not be disappointed. But yeah, first season of production. Not to dissect too much or read too much into it, we have not heard whether this show will have more than one season, but the way they said has officially wrapped the first season kind of makes you think, okay, you wouldn't say first unless there was a second, but maybe not. I don't know. Maybe they're just going to wait and see how it does. But yeah, to say I'm pumped is just, that's underdoing it. Pretty interesting. It looked like if you go on IMDb's website right now, they actually list 8 different episodes. That's all they had listed up there. They don't have them titled yet, but that makes me wonder if there's going to be just 8 or if that's just what they've gotten up there so far. Could be nothing. Anyways, the IMDb description, though, it says The Mandalorian is set after the fall of the Empire and before the emergence of the First Order. The series follows the travels of a lone gunfighter in the outer reaches of the galaxy, far from the authority of the New Republic. So, obviously, they've already released some pictures of, of the Mandalorian. There's the picture you guys have all seen. I'll put it up here. But, so it looks pretty cool. Got the Mandalorian armor. Deserty looking planet there too. We'll see where that goes. I'm excited to see some Mandalore stuff, and also just the time period. Yeah, I mean, it's between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, which is something that hasn't been explored near enough. So yeah, give me some more of that. I'm excited for that. Hopefully we'll get some, I don't know what the chances of getting some of our favorite, like the original trilogy characters appearing in it, but we'll definitely hopefully get some references to them and see how they might tie into some of the stuff with this. But yeah, absolutely excited for this. It's going to be a really cool time period to explore, and yeah, I'm excited to see what they do with that. So, for sure. Yeah, last but not least, Master and Apprentice. If you guys haven't heard about this, and if you're a reader, you'll be pretty excited. It's a book by Claudia Gray, and she is an incredible author, and she's done quite a bit of Star Wars stuff already. Leia, Princess of Alderaan. She did Lost Stars. She also did Bloodline, and all of these have been books that pretty much everyone's just loved. Really cool things that they've explored, given us a lot of cool canon materials. So I think she's a perfect person to do Master and Apprentice. It's about Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn. So what's not to love? I've already expressed how much I love Qui-Gon. So see him training Obi-Wan. So this take place before Phantom Menace, and that's going to be freaking awesome. Obviously it couldn't take place after, since Qui-Gon's dead. May he rest in peace. But yeah, on the Facebook page, I have linked a released sneak peek at the book. Actually, it's a couple pages of just teaser for it, and it talks about, it's really cool, and basically it just talks about Qui-Gon being in front of the entire council, and the council offering him a place to be part of the Jedi Council. And that's really cool. We didn't really know that was something that happened. There's that famous line in Phantom Menace where obviously we know he's not on the council. Obi-Wan says, you would be on the council if you, I can't remember the exact line, but basically saying if you didn't disagree with them so much, kind of thing. And, Qui-Gon just got that attitude of like, well, I'm doing what the Force wants. He might have had the best outlook when it came to being in tune with the Force than any Jedi, honestly. They probably needed him on the council, but that was one thing that was interesting in the little excerpt. They say one of the reasons they want him on the council is because he has different views, and that could probably help them. So really cool, be interesting. I'm excited to see how that plays out, because obviously we know he either turns it down or maybe they revoke they take it away because he does something and they don't want him on it anymore. Something happens, but anyways, just that little excerpt got me really, really excited, and I know that if you guys are readers, you're going to love the book, so definitely get ready to check that out. Go on to the Facebook page. You can read that little teaser. It's pretty cool. So, yeah, guys, I really enjoyed talking about this Star Wars stuff again with you guys, and hope that you guys did too. Thanks for sticking with it. Thanks for sticking with us to the end here. But, yeah, I think that's going to wrap it all up this week, and please let me know if you have any questions. Please leave comments. Be sure to like and subscribe, like I said, if you haven't already. But don't forget to check us out on Instagram. That's where you can take part in all the discussions. And, yeah, if you have any other questions, topics you want to talk about in the future, just let me know. Leave comments. You can DM me on Instagram as well. I'm pretty responsive and try to get around to all that. I enjoy talking to you guys. So thanks again for the support. Hope you have a great week. May the Force be with you. And don't forget to like and subscribe, because
it is your destiny.